human beings are interdependent. We are an interdependent species. We inherently understand fairness. Not everybody. I mean, obviously, he's a sociopath. Some are sick. Some are
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's the other weird thing. It's like, where do you go? Like how much does your environment play a role, and how do we just have natural, because like there's so much ambiguity in the world, but I do think there is eventually just a straight up line between good and evil.
Yes. Yes.
And how do people get on one side of that line or the other? I mean, that's the question we've been trying to answer all of human history that we don't have the answer for yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's why I read a lot of history. I study history. I love history because it's just human beings living in different periods. The human heart hasn't changed. It's just the circumstances and opportunity. And that's why.
Oh, it's changed, Tara. There's a lot more cholesterol floating around in there.
Yeah, right. Well, that's true. That's true. And it's there's a
mine's gotten less healthy during the pandemic. I'm not gonna lie. Mine's gotten. I'm like I'm gonna snack a little more at midnight because the world might be ending.
Right.
And I can't go to the gym.
Right. True. That's true. That's true. But it's, I mean, for all, like you were saying, there's good people are doing good things. People are doing bad things, but that's people throughout history. But what you can count on with people, this is what makes me concerned when we're talking about a general strike. That's why they keep us divided. This is why we will never have a general strike in this country until the working people of this country understand who their true nemesis.
Well, not just that, but it's by design that they want a world set up where we can't.
Yes.
In other countries, and again, I'm not saying anywhere's a utopia. Of course it's not. But, countries like France, countries like England, even Spain, Catalonia in particular, where they have worker co-ops everywhere, these countries, they do have a lot better social services for their people. They do have, a society where pretty much everyone only needs one job to survive. Yes. And, because of that, people aren't afraid to strike when they want better treatment. Same with Germany, because they're not one paycheck away from going under. Their healthcare isn't linked to a job. It's almost like the United States, like there's capitalists everywhere who are inherently predatory. I used to be a little more diplomatic about it and say predatory capitalism. I don't say that anymore because capitalism is inherently predatory. Yes. It has done the exact same freaking thing every time it's been tried. So whenever someone's like, well, is there a way we can do this ethically? The answer is no. We can't. Because it's not set up to do that. Right. When you pursue profit above all else, you're naturally just not going to look out for people. It's by design, and the ruling class wants it that way. So stop saying, well, I'm a capitalist, but just stop. Just stop.
Thank you. Hello. So, I agree. If I hear another Uber driver say that they're a goddamn capitalist, I'm going to lose my mind. This is the problem. You're not a capitalist. You trade your time. The time in your life, your limited lifespan to perform a service for a paycheck. You are a laborer. You're a worker.
And you deserve to be treated better because the person who started all that just bought a $172 million home. Right. Well, the people who are without the drivers, Uber couldn't be a thing. Yeah. Lyft couldn't be a thing. You're generating that wealth and some of the drivers are having to sleep in their cars.
Right. And this is why
this is by design.
And that's why we have to wake people up. And that's why it's very important what you do. I'm telling you, there would have been no American Revolution without the pamphleteers, without those who wrote and they passed around these whispered in tea shops about, hey, you know what? We don't need a king. This is what I think we do. Yeah, we do. You do on your show. I do on my show. It has to happen. We have to get this word out that we are in this together. I've 100%. This is why. I mean, years ago, I want to tell you, you're talking about a general strike. I registered the domain name General Strike USA about 15 to 20 years. I can't remember.
You still have it?
Yes. It's waiting.
Do something with that.
It is waiting.
Do something with that.
I bought it.
Talk to some people.
That's what I mean. General.
Yeah, we gotta.
USA. I just bought it. I'll give it to if whatever, I'll donate it to the cause. I agree with you. We need a general strike, but
Yeah.
that's why they keep us divided. They imagine. Here's the thing. All right, another story. I used to work for a big TV station. This is what I do in my other life. I work at TV stations, and I'm a freelancer for the most part. I was working at a TV station. We'll call it A&E. I don't know because that's its name. And I who cares, right? They had staff that were working there. I was there, but I was a freelancer. And one day they called the entire staff in to a meeting and they said, "You're all fired." And they said, "Now you're all hired again as freelancers." They converted their entire staff force, all their production staff and who make the shows,
Yeah. They could
into
pay you less.
freelancers. Yeah, so they didn't have any benefits, no security, no retirement, no sick leave. People were crying. People were, I have a vacation coming. There were people there with like 20 years. They're like, what does this mean for me? I have my this, then that, whatever. They had a certain way of living, or so they thought, right? And then it was taken away. And guess what? I was very upset by it, and
Yeah, I
then
don't blame you.
yeah,
That's pretty messed up.
but I was a freelancer, and I was in the bathroom at one point, and I was really upset. And one of the managers walked in. She's like, "What's the matter?" I said, "I'm just really upset about what's happening here." And she goes, "What does it matter to you? It doesn't affect you." Okay, because I was already a freelancer, but it affects me because other human beings are affected, and the whole thing sucks.
Yeah,
So
there's a whole idea of compassion for other
right,
people. Imagine that. But also it does affect you.
it affects
If you really want to make it all about you, you know what I mean. Like I'm not saying
right,
you want to make it, but I mean like in the hypothetical, if you wanted to make it about the freelancer, it does affect them because this is where things actually quote unquote trickle down.
right,
It's
right.
not wealth that trickles down, it's getting screwed over that
Absolutely.
trickles down.
And
That's
then
why, like when comics, I mean, you can use road comedy as
mhm,
an example. And I like to use this as an example. I think it's a poignant one. You know, we are one of the only, well, not the only, but we're one of the industries where the pay scale has literally gone down since the
right,
80s.
right,
Literally, you make less money as far as the scale goes for like a general comic who opens a show at 30 minutes and a comic who headlines a show at 45 minutes in a general venue that's doing a comedy night. The pay scale has literally gone
mm,
down since the 80s. Now, there's a number of reasons for that. That kind of go beyond the whole like the capitalists are screwing you. Like it also kind of goes into there used to be 3 networks and they would all put on comedians, so it was really hot, and then the bubble burst and blah blah blah.
mm,
But
mhm,
for our purposes, what also happened was, they started screwing people over here and there, seeing if people would take a little less here and a little less there, and then eventually that trickled all the
yep,
way down.
yep,
And first the headliner was making a little, and then the feature was making a little less. Then the
mhm,
MC. Now the MC is not even a paid spot anymore. You used to
right,
be able to make a living doing it.
oh,
So it does affect the freelancer because, well, everyone's a
absolutely,
freelancer now.
yep,
So you're going to get less freelance gigs because of it.
yep,
And
that's
some
true,
people,
yeah,
some people do choose to freelance because they want to do a variety of projects. They have their own shows that they're working on that they want to be able to put time into,
right,
but that affects them too,
of
because
course
now
it
the
does,
lane that they occupied is getting eliminated because
yeah,
everyone else is getting pushed down.
that's it, and also, here's what happened then, the next day, everybody showed up. Everybody went back to work, and
Yeah.
I was speaking to another friend of mine who is French. He's from France, and he's an American citizen now. I don't know why he wanted to come here, but he did. And I was telling him this is what had happened, and he was like, "That would never happen in France because if they tried it,
You
if
wouldn't
they
show up.
yeah, the
Yeah.
entire for because not only that, not only would those workers go on strike, but then the bus drivers would strike, and the bakery owners would strike, and the truck drivers would strike. There would be a massive strike of
Yeah.
all different working people because they get it. They understand that who they're fighting against. We are a nation of temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right?
Right. That's what they try to sell you.
Right.
That's what they try
That
to sell you.
"Oh, isn't it great that Netflix is gonna trickle a couple of scholarships on somebody?"
That story really got to you. I
It
haven't
did.
heard it. You've mentioned it.
It's 'cause it
I
just
didn't hear
happened.
about it. I missed it on
It just
MSNBC.
happened. It just happened now because it pisses me off. You know why? Because they announce it, and then it's on MSNBC, and they're like, "Oh, how wonderful! That's a lot of money. That's really
Right.
going to help." And they don't say anything about the fact that 80% of the American people can't save $400 or live check to check. How dare they?
They
And
don't say anything about how an emergency UBI, as far as, you look at Wall Street, which, by the way, every Wall Street dollar is extracted from we the people.
right,
You look at what they actually bring in each year. Giving us an emergency UBI, giving the people of this country an emergency UBI so that they can get through this pandemic. If like all of Wall
right,
Street's wealth is a coastline, giving us an emergency UBI, it would be like taking a little speck of sand on your finger
yeah,
and taking that away from the
that's
coastline.
it.
That's what it would be the equivalence of.
Yeah,
It would be like nothing. It would
yep.
be like nothing.
They
And
want
they won't even mention that. They won't even mention that.
they
They
want
won't talk about that.
They wanna keep us they wanna keep the game going. The game
Yeah.
is profitable for them, and I'm here to tell them that the game is over. I mean,
That's
we
what we got to do. We,
I
the people, got to say the game is over.
absolutely. How much more? They all know, even the right wingers, some of them, that aren't dumb, they're not completely lost. They get that the thing is not working, and this is why they went for Twitler. He understood. This is why he's very dangerous as well, because into the fissures of disunity steps a fascist. And we were warned. Henry Wallace, Vice President Henry Wallace, wrote an article back in 1941 for the New, or maybe 44, for the New York Times about the dangers of American fascism. Yeah, we were fighting fascism overseas, but here's what fascism is at home. You could tell the fascist, by the American fascist, by his deliberate perversion of truth and fact.
Yeah.
By his, I mean, this is what Henry Wallace wrote, the vice president. So they exploit the fissures of disunity to keep the people. I mean, the ultimate end game, he wrote, was that to keep the working man and woman in eternal subjection. That is exactly what is happening. So
Well, and that's been happening. I mean,
right,
when you look at, and this goes way beyond one administration. I mean, when you look at Bush,
yeah,
like the axis of evil,
uh-huh,
the 7 countries,
yep,
the war on terror, going
uh,
beyond that, the war on drugs. I mean, it's just like
yeah,
these people looked at George Orwell as an instruction manual, and
absolutely,
they decided, they were like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make them scared of this random boogeyman that can never ever be quote unquote defeated. War
right,
on drugs, what does that even mean? War
yeah,
on terror, what does that even mean? How are you going to win that quote unquote war? What does that even mean? It's randomly defined on purpose. We go
right,
after all these other countries, and continue an empire of war that benefits a very, very elite few while brutalizing the planet. And,
yep,
you know, you set it up so people can't really ask questions because they're barely getting by. And that is textbook fascism. When the
yes,
corporation and the state are married,
yep, that's it.
that's textbook fascism.
That is it. That is, you're absolutely right, and this is why we have to. I mean, one thing I do hear on the liberal media. I mean, not the liberal. What am I saying? The corporate media, the so-called liberal media. They have been. But they focus it on Trump. They say things that they have said that
They
he.
have this delusion that once Trump goes away,
Yes.
we're going to be fine. And you know that they really show their hand because they're saying, well, we'll go back to normal. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
people don't want to go back to normal.
What's normal?
Normal got us here.
Right.
Normal
Normal
got
thing.
us here.
Right.
Trump's
And
a symptom of the normal.
right, they wanna go back to brunch. It's that meme,
Yeah.
if Hillary was president, we'd be at brunch. That's it. They wanna go back to brunch. Brunch, a lot of us couldn't afford brunch. The majority of Americans are living check to check. When they miss 2 paychecks and they end up on a food bank line, that is not a functioning economy, and this is why the corporate media sucks, because 'cause they're out there. They do Twitler's work for him too. They're like, "Oh, it's great economy, such a great economy, great
Oh
economy,
yeah,
great
the ruling class pats each other's backs.
right,
I mean,
great
this whole
economy."
thing, I mean, in some of these, like the fake resistance and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that. I mean,
What
it
did they
is a
resist resisting. My God, right?
They're resisting reality
Right,
is what they're
resisting
doing. They're
truth.
resisting reality. It's just a bunch of political theater.
Right.
It's
Resist. Go back to
such
they wanna
nonsense.
resist, and they need the resist so they can go back to brunch. That's what it is.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your